Today we'll discuss the topic enforcement. As you can see on the cartoon, there are many compliance-driven companies which work along the inspectors very well. There are some countries and companies where they would like to conceal a little bit, so it's all about where are you established, what are you doing, and do you want to comply or not. But we'll see, and we'll discuss today with Sylvia Dime and Volker Soballa. Sylvia is the Deputy Director General of the National Institute for Chemical Safety, and since 2011, Sylvia, you're also chairing the Forum of Enforcement at the European Chemical Agency. Volker is the Head of Global Product Stewardship at Evonik, also for many years already. Enforcement is very dear for me because, as Sylvia at least knows, I was involved in the establishment of the forum. That was 2006. We're currently 8 years further away from that point in time. So, Sylvia, how has it run, the forum?
Well, I think in the past years, forum has evolved a lot. Though what is still relevant is that I think REACH is still one of the most complex legislation around, not just for chemical safety or chemical regulations, but in general. So that means that it's really a challenge for industry and for inspectors as well. The current priorities are set out in the multi-annual work program of the forum. Still, one of the main priorities is agreeing on and implementing harmonized REACH enforcement projects. That's still a priority issue for the forum. Apart from REACH enforcement projects, what I can highlight is the training of the inspectors and developing methods and tools for the inspectors, which is really an important issue for us as well. And working on the so-called Interlinks project, which is the cooperation between the various authorities, in particular between ECHA and member state authorities, member state competent authorities, and NEAs. Those are the priorities for now.
And I remember reading on the Ref 3 that you will also, besides the normal inspectors, you would include customs. And I believe, Volker, you had some experience with that already?
Yeah, that's true. I think, first of all, the idea to include customs in the Ref 3 project is a good idea, because then we know what kind of substances, what kind of mixtures, what kind of articles are coming from non-EU countries into EU. But it does not, from my point of view, is sufficient to just include customs. Instead, we need to have them better trained.
What would you, as an expert on having enforcement brought up on you, see as a key difference between the various member states regarding REACH inspections?
Some are just focusing on pre-registration numbers, on registration numbers. Some others have their hobby horses with regard to the safety data sheet. Some others are primarily focusing on worker safety. To be honest, if you refer to the bigger chemical companies, we have the most safest workplaces in the world. Chemical industry is doing a lot, and all what we as a bigger company, and also you can just look at the peer group around Europe at least, what we can provide are those steel pipes, clean facilities, the perfect personal protective equipment, automatic filling stations, and all these kind of things.
Enforcement is a member state responsibility. Germany is a federal state with 16 Bundesländer, I believe. That sounded very complex. Is it as complex as it sounds, or is it more simple than I expect?
To be honest, I don't think that is really an issue. In Germany we have the BLAC, which means it's the Bund Länder Arbeitsgemeinschaft Chemikaliensicherheit. That means it's a working group supporting the Ministry of Environment of the different 16 federal states. And what they do is they know that issue, and they're doing their best in order to get a harmonized approach with regard to REACH inspections.
But one more thing is that Germany makes it sure that the Bundesländer are also represented at the forum meetings.
Sylvia, the Ref 3 Phase 1 report I read talked about different action points you like industry to take. Could you talk about that a little bit?
The investigation showed that a higher non-compliance level can be identified with the small and medium-sized enterprises.
If an SME, a small and medium-sized enterprise, a company, is a member of any of these different chemical associations, they get support. We have a sort of a help desk. We have FAQs. We have also those training sessions, all these kind of things.
Can we, as inspectors, urge small and medium-sized companies to search for their associations, their industry representatives, maybe join one of those associations, because that would be the best approach for them to get support?
I think this is a very good point you are mentioning, but the joining is the problem. And from that point of view, I would say it is a good idea if you, as officials, could say if you would like to improve your skills in order to be more compliant, that you probably are for the time being, then try to seek a membership of a corresponding chemical association.
Another issue was identified that only representatives show quite high non-compliance levels, and I think that's something that needs to be addressed.
What can industry do when they think another company is not registered or free riding?
Well, to be honest, we cannot do so much because we are not a police. What we do is that we go to the authorities and say, okay, we have some indication that the corresponding substance XYZ is probably not registered, and so please have a look at that.
Sylvia, do you think that enforcement authorities can give support in this process to industry?
Some member states do have even phone numbers or dedicated email address where companies can give a signal or give an indication to authorities. Some other authorities would be ready to accept letters or emails with indications and follow up on those if it is possible. Not necessarily will give an answer to the company. And then there are certain other member states which have their very strong priorities and strategies and enforcement steps, what they do, and they just strictly follow that.
At the European Chemical Agency, not so much the forum, but the agency itself, if they see a non-compliance in the stage of dossier evaluation, they can inform the member state competent authorities that there is a non-compliance by the so-called SONC, the Statement of Non-Compliance. Is industry happy with this procedure, Volker?
Well, definitely not.
I was expecting that answer.
Well, we think it's not appropriate to go with this, let's say, strong shot like a song right from the beginning. Instead, we would recommend